that's our announcements. And now it is time for Stephen to make himself seen. And we will turn it over to you. So thanks again for presenting tonight, and take it away, Stephen.
Hi. So hoping this is showing up. We were doing a little tech troubleshooting a little bit earlier, but it looks like it's presentable here. Okay, I see a thumbs up from Derek. So yeah, I want to thank the leadership and members of Hack Night for allowing me to come back and give you this update to the Master of Science in Civic Analytics. I did not know that it was almost 2 years to the date in which I last presented in person, and kind of the background to this, or at least the context to the presentation, is that the program had just been approved by the Illinois Board of Higher Education about 2 weeks before I presented. So it was hot off the presses that we were able to advertise the program and talk about it, but it would still be another essentially year before our first students would, well, actually, we had some people join us in January, but the first kind of full cohort wouldn't even start for another year. So now we are into the second year of the program. Our students are into their third semester, particularly the full-time students are into their third semester, that they've gone through some of the coursework, they've been doing internships, and we've also worked on just building the program. So this presentation, it'll have a little bit of the background where I talk about, for those of you who are not familiar where we are, what we do with the purpose of the program. There'll be a little bit of a review, but I don't want to essentially rehash the presentation I gave 2 years ago. So you'll see here on the screen at the bottom right-hand corner, there is a quick link that you can go to that shows you essentially the structure of the program. So instead of going in and talking about the individual courses and some of those competencies, I'll talk more broadly about it, how it fits in, just a little bit of reminder, but then I'll go into talking about how we have grown, how public data education at UIC has grown, some of our new initiatives, but not only in the department, but university-wide, and just kind of give you a general update of this activity in the public data and public interest technology realm at UIC. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick things off. And for those of you who are wondering why you can see my window, I'm running a kind of a large monitor with some weird display options, and we couldn't get it to work with Zoom. So I'm running the presentation within Adobe Acrobat. So thanks for bearing with us. So about me, again, my name is Steve Kleinschmit. I have a PhD in public administration. I was formerly an urban planner. I was a GIS analyst at a water resources utility. I also worked in environmental and development services consulting, and was even in the Army as a field artillery crew member for a while. So I've worn a lot of hats, and each one of them, and I mentioned I was a GIS analyst for a number of years at a water resources utility. So I've worn a lot of hats, and those hats have really helped inform my approach to the design of the curriculum. But I'll also say, working with some of the members of the civic technology community, people I've met through Hack Night, have helped shape the curriculum. They've helped shape our outreach and engagement strategies. So Hack Night has been a great friend to us in our program, and to that we want to ensure that we give back as well. So that being said, if you're interested in following me in our developments, I'm on Twitter at Prof. Steve K. From there, you'll find essentially all sorts of stuff about the things that I do. You'll also find a link to our departmental and college Twitter accounts if you're kind of interested in the academic life of the college, what sort of things go on in the department. So that's at UIC DPA. So let me go ahead and jump right into it, if you will. So the Master of Science in Civic Analytics. It was the first Civic Analytics degree. And I qualify that in that the way that public data as a field has grown, the institutional homes for degree programs have they kind of impart a flavor or impart a set of knowledges onto the interpretation of what public data is. So if you're an urban planning department, you're going to have a curriculum that's more focused around critical questions in urban planning and methodologies that are important in urban planning. If you're in a policy school, you're perhaps more into policy analytics and econometrics and those sort of things. We are hosted in a Department of Public Administration that we do have a public policy program, both at the master's level and undergraduate. We have a Master of Public Administration that's been around for 40 plus years. So we're hosted in a public administration department, which means that we are very much informed by this understanding of public data and how it's used towards the operations of running government agencies and nonprofits. So, yeah, we're informed. Our civic analytics perspective is very much anchored in the traditions, the big questions, and the methodologies and the ethics of public service as it traditionally been taught through public administration and public policy. So, so that going forward, that our program is centered around not only on the data analysis, on the hard skills and the sort of technical side that people associate with public or with data analytics. It's also about information management. So more broadly, information management and governance. More broadly, yes, we deal with data, traditional tabular statistical data, but also things like freedom of information requests, of non-structured data, body camera footage, red light cameras, all these systems that are kind of anchored in an understanding of what data is beyond simple statistical analysis. So the people who are going to be in these positions that graduate from our program, I'll go into, I have a slide called MSCA Careers where I talk about particularly who this program, the type of career paths that people choose, but ultimately, these students are looking for operational data roles in public agencies. So, so working in transit agencies, budget offices, city information offices, city data offices, property assessors, regional planning organizations, state government, federal government, all sorts of, very government centric, but also large, complex nonprofits that have complex needs, and also government services consultings for those people who are wanting to be on the private sector side, but can have an understanding of government operations and needs. That latter has been something that has been kind of a issue that has been expressed to me quite a bit over the course of this program, is that that you can learn coding and you can learn the hard skills and the technical analysis and statistics, but the public sector is very different from the private sector in that the nature of its problems, their scope, the constitutional limits on government actions, ethics, even kind of from the social science perspective, how you even define, quantify, and collect data for social science phenomenon. So there's really a need for people who understand how this technology can be applied in the public sector in ways that are missing from most traditional data science curriculums. So we worked to be integrated within the civic technology community. As Derek had mentioned, I've been involved in Chi-Hack Night almost since the moment I got into Chicago. And yeah, it's something that we really want to be part of this larger community. We want to be part of this ecosystem of organizations and individuals who are committed to using data and public interest technology. So within the design of our program that we designed this around the expression of public values, of ethics and equity as being part of the design of the program and reflected throughout the curriculum. So the design philosophy behind the program, and I go into this just a little bit as a way to kind of going forward, being able to see how not only our curriculum had specified this kind of philosophy, but how we've evolved and how it feeds into our initiatives. So we see the growth of a lot of different, the establishment of multidisciplinary data science fields. So in the sort of foundational data science programs, data analytics, were mostly context agnostic. They were computational knowledge and statistical knowledge. And there was, think of the history of data science going back all the way to the early 1960s, arguments over is this statistics, is this computer science? And the reality is that it's a confluence of both in the primary sense. But within the last decade, we have seen the rapid emergence of new subfields of data analytics as fields, very disparate fields. They begin to understand that they need to be, with the increasing datafication of society, they need to modernize their operations. They need to fit themselves within this greater sort of data revolution, if you will. So you see the establishment of fields like health informatics, business analytics, public health informatics is not only computational knowledge, statistical knowledge, but you have to understand the core questions of epidemiology and the techniques and understand those kind of critical things. Same with business analytics, same with all sort of these hybrid fields. So when it comes to public data and public data analytics, that in expressing what these programs should do and what public data analytics is, it's traditionally, yes, having those hard skills, the computational knowledge, knowing R, tidyverse, SQL, Ruby on Rails, having understanding of computational systems and structures. Then it's combining that with statistical knowledge of how data is created, how it's coded, how it's manipulated, analyzed, understanding to a very intimate level statistical knowledge beyond that you traditionally get in many public service graduate programs or undergraduate programs. So it's a bit more intensive, that statistics, research methods, and that even goes into understanding things like prevailing methodologies in public service that constitute the third aspect, what is known as domain knowledge. So yes, in a context agnostic program, you have computational knowledge, you have statistical knowledge, but in these hybrid fields and the emerging subfields, you also have domain knowledge. And this is sort of what I was alluding to when I talked about, say, public health analytics or urban informatics or business analytics, that you have a set of core questions, methodologies, prevailing norms, understanding institutions, the problems that underlie the field. And within that, you have two classifications that I've termed applications and systems integration knowledge. So applications knowledge is sort of the hard skills that are used specifically within public service. So this might be GIS, but it's also things like census data, it's budget, public budget and finance methodologies, it's property records, crime reporting statistics, and all these things like that. So you're understanding the data structures, the applications, the tools that are used primarily for public service, but with system integration knowledge, you're also knowing how they are used to inform policy making, how they are used for administrative decision making, how they are used for, how they're integrated into systems of governance and policy systems and whatnot. So that's what informs our design. So it's the last kind of background, and then I kind of get more into the progress and initiatives. So our core subject areas, we have these five cores. The first is the Public Service Foundations core. A lot of our students, when people come to us and they ask us, like, what is a typical MSCA student? What is their background? Were they a computer science undergrad? Did they come from public policy, economics, sociology, psychology? It's really that the way that we design this program is that you kind of contrast to certain types of manifestations of public data science, that you don't have to be a computer science or an undergrad statistics major, that we have crafted this program for people who have essentially an understanding. They've taken, say, a statistics course, or and sometimes we provisionally accept people who have not taken statistics and make them take it as a condition of their admittance. But it's this idea that public service foundations, people are coming here from, we have physics majors, economics, business, accountancy, public policy, political science. There isn't any standard kind of person who comes to these programs, but we do have this kind of, I'd say, bimodal distribution. You have some people who come from the hard sciences with the technical skills and computational skills, and they need to learn more about policy, administration, public problems, that context. And then we have people who come from public policy, political science, economics, business, psychology, other social sciences, and need to learn the technical sides. And we teach them coding, we teach them data management, and all those things. But getting back to, I guess, point A in public service foundations, first and foremost, a public servant is a public servant, and you need to know what are the, particularly somebody who's going through a graduate program, you're probably going to be, through the course of your career, you're going to be moving up to managerial levels, and you have to understand what is the purpose and role of public institutions. You have to know how policy processes operate, how they are evaluated and changed, and to know the constitutional basis for government, constraints, ethics, all those things. So first and foremost, you need to know how to be a public servant and have that inform your approach to data and data analytics. So second, the analytics and data science core. These are a combination of the hard skills and some of the sort of technology management skills. These are the courses that you learn. You learn R, you learn tidyverse, you learn SQL, and all these different technologies that are in very much the hard skills that people come to these programs from. But you also learn. We have courses like Intro to Civic Technology, where you learn about interrelationship of government and civic organizations and database journalism and all those things like that. So yeah, that those are the hard skills and the focus on tech. Then we have research methods. Research methods is statistical. It's exactly what you think it is. It's understanding statistics, knowing how, what tests to use, what are the assumptions underlying statistical tests and methods, and it's very, very rigorously making sure that people understand statistics, research design, data storytelling, all these aspects of being able to make empirically defensible research. Then we have electives. As I say, we don't have perhaps deep electives, but we do give chances, a large amount of electives in the program, but we do give some room for people to be able to explore their interests and to find courses across not only our program, but across the college and the university, to be able to have a certain tool set that might not be part of the core curriculum. And then finally, we want people to graduate to be immediately employable, that we really push students to do internships and multiple internships. We've been very successful in placement in this the first year of the program. For those students who don't want to do an internship, that we do have a capstone project that provides them that professional experience, and then they have a portfolio at the end. So our program, we have these we want to prepare people to be information and data officers, policy analysts, program evaluators, geospatial analysts. I've got to read this whole list here, but essentially many of these careers didn't even exist 10 years ago. And we're seeing a dramatic growth in units of government. Sometimes they're regional councils of government, they're major US cities, they're counties, they're state agencies, the federal government, non-governmental organizations that are seeing a need to integrate database decision-making across their curriculum and throughout their organization to improve it and to modernize their operations. So yeah, these operational roles that curriculum is academic, but it's academic in some sense, but it is very applied. That the people that we have are working in agencies to deal with data day in and day out, to be able to create these applications and use data, and essentially be people who specialize in expertise in these areas. So in our first year, as I said, our full-time cohort is just now in their third semester, so they're starting their third year. We've got more students who are, some who did internships during the summer, others that are starting them this fall. So some of the internships, a lot of our students, and this isn't a comprehensive list, this is just kind of the ones that leapt out at me as I was preparing this presentation. But you have the City of Chicago, Cook County's Assessor's Office, CMAP, Tollway Authority, the UIC College of Law. We're actually I'm working with some of our MSCA students to work with the UIC College of Law's Veterans Legal Clinic to help them essentially structure their data collection and to do analyses and essentially help them do program evaluation. How do they make their operations work? How do you make a veterans legal clinic work better and use data-formed policies? So we also have students, some of our international students, who are choosing to do their internships abroad because of COVID-19, that some of these have been able to do, have been done virtually. But yeah, I've been very pleased with the placements. Our graduates are very, they report that they tend to find their skills are very desirable, and that they have a very high rate of placement. I believe it's essentially 100% at this point. Yeah, it's been good that we have these people working in these agencies and offices, and that these agencies are seeing the value of people who have specialized in data, but also understand kind of the context and the structures and that domain knowledge that I talked about early in the presentation. So in our first year, we did a curriculum update. So after our first year, we did a curriculum update. There were certain aspects of our curriculum that we couldn't necessarily do at first because of kind of sequencing and some of our internal things. But in our newest revision that went live for fall 2021, that our curriculum has strengthened its emphasis within several domains. One of them is policy analysis. So we want to make sure people that have very rigorous preparation and policy processes and understand how data is used to inform policy processes. Program evaluation. Are public programs, are they effective? Are they efficient means of taking public tax dollars and turning them into results? How do you know that if a public problem is being addressed? It's not like dollars and cents in the private sector, that you need a set of skills that really allow you to measure performance and evaluate programs so that you can make programs better and figure out when things are working or when they're not working and make changes. I also created a more sort of emphatic emphasis on GIS. As a GIS analyst, geographic information systems are an incredibly important tool that I feel has been traditionally underutilized in local and even some state governments. My spiel that I give to my students when I teach GIS is that every public problem has an extensive spatial component. We have transit connectivity, clustering of pollution or undesirable land uses, crime, environmental degradation, even things like how do you, what's methodology? When people say you're a food desert, how do you even, how do you construct a map that would show you what areas are within food deserts or what areas are within transit accessibility or connectivity problems? So a renewed or a increased emphasis on GIS, because I believe that statistics in context and spatially agnostic statistics can only tell you so much. You have to understand how proximity and interconnectivity and all these kind of spatial attributes help cause and can be the solution to public problems. The next thing we did, we provided more choice in electives, particularly in advanced research methods. And the way we shuffled around our curriculum, we actually reduced the number of the credit hours to the degree by 4 hours. And I'll preface this is if there are people here listening who are interested in our program, just know that we award 4 hours per graduate course for full-time graduate course. So if you were looking at a program that say has 39 hours and we have 53, we're essentially the same number of courses. They may award 3 credit hours, we award 4. But that being said, we chopped off a class because we were able to look at certain efficiencies and be able to combine, take advantage of some changes in curriculum in the other programs. Aside from our Master of Science in Civic Analytics, we do have a new Civic Analytics minor for undergrads. So that is something that is starting to appeal to people across the university at UIC. So it's not just people who are dedicated civic analytics or people who are in there, but we also have students say that come from computer science who want to have a greater understanding of how public data is used and not necessarily like computer science, but urban planning and policy, political science, all sorts of undergraduate majors, people who just really think that having that knowledge and understanding that background can really be a way to make them not only more marketable, but also as a way to kind of test out their interest in the graduate program. Because, by and large, this is a new field. It's an emergent field that a lot of students who are coming to the university, they don't know, they've never been exposed to this kind of field. So it's an opportunity to learn about this emergent field. We also have a class, Public Policy 220 at the undergraduate level, Introduction to Civic Technology, which is a general education course. And that's great because a lot of students who are across the university, they need these general ed credits. And they want, to get them to explore courses or subject matter that's not necessarily within their core area field of interest, but we think that this can become a popular course that will help create a greater knowledge of civic technology throughout not only the university, but throughout Chicago and ultimately Illinois and the country going forward. So yeah, hopefully this will be something that really pushes people, to help develop interest in civic technology as a movement. So just got just a few more minutes here before I put it into Q&A. So other initiatives. A year ago, I founded something known as the Civic Technology Research Lab with some scholars at other institutions. So it's a multi-university research lab that focuses on studying civic technology, government applications, everything from budgeting and finance to freedom of information and government openness and accountability. But we've also focused on the development of public data education pedagogy. So there's really no literature, or very little literature, I may say, of how to teach public data education. You know, what are the best methodologies? What are the things that we should be focusing? What are the needs and whatnot? So we have these different research lines. We've got some publications out of it, some academic journal articles, some white papers. We submitted a National Science Foundation grant. Ultimately, it didn't get funded, but we'll just try again as those things go. But yeah, the Civic Technology Research Lab is a way of helping to provide a bit of an institutional home for research in this area. We joined the Public Interest Technology University Network last year. The PITUN is an initiative from the New America Foundation that seeks to create a network of people in the field of public interest technology, public data, that want to grow this field as a educational, to build it as a field to help programs develop new programs, to help existing programs develop their capacity. They have a large funder network that is interested in funding new initiatives to improve access to public interest technology education. So we're glad to join that. I just put our tweet in here. I didn't want to start stealing people's logos and whatnot without approval, but yeah, we're proud to be part of this network. And I believe there's 70 or 80 universities that are now in this network. So we're glad to be part of them, that there's network-wide research, there's funding opportunities. They help us develop our capacity for public service education. We have, I believe this is either the last slide or almost the last slide. We're in the process of creating something called the Civic Data Society. It's a student organization that is for people who are interested in solving public problems with data. So it's not constrained to our students in the MSCA program, although there are some in our program, in the MSCA, our Master of Public Policy, Master of Public Administration, our undergraduate public policy program, but also people who are in urban planning, and just more broadly, people across the university, undergraduate and grad, who are very interested in learning about public sector data applications. So I need to talk to Derek about this, but it's one of the things that the students organizing this expressed to me is that they want to start volunteering to use their skills to help kind of the tech help desk type things that Shy Hack Night does. They want to, short duration technical assistance for nonprofit organizations, units of government, everything like that just need some help being able to design and implement and troubleshoot some of their civic technology applications. But ultimately, we also want it to be a mechanism for which we can also host things like our own hackathons and our own local conferences and become a kind of a force in a way to help aggregate not only student interest, but be able to engage the community through our student action and student volunteers. With that is that's a quick review of the things that I know and the updates that we have. So I'm glad to stop sharing and answer your questions.
All right, thank you, Stephen. That's great. And just to answer your question, yeah, let's definitely talk. I think there's a lot of opportunity with the help desk, so we can chat about that a little bit after. So yeah, we have a number of questions, so we can dive into the first audience question, which I think is a great one to start with, which is, what do your students have the most difficulty with in understanding civic technology?
I think that goes back to that maybe that first question when I talked about the kind of bimodal distribution is that some students come with the hard skills, and to the credit to the civic technology movement, there are a lot of people who are they've self-taught themselves. They've watched YouTube videos, and their undergraduate educational curriculums prepared them very much on technical skills. And those students tend to struggle a little bit with the quote unquote squishiness of social science content, because when you're in the hard sciences, things are very finite, they're very predictable, they're reproducible. But yeah, I would say that the students who come from the hard sciences, they struggle at first, but they get used to it, that people are not predictable. They're reactive. They react in unpredictable ways, and not only in ways that we would predict. So learning about sociology and psychology and the social services sciences perspective is that. Now, on the other side, from the social sciences side, I'd say that some of the advanced statistic courses, that they're very rigorous, and I'd say that sometimes people they choose to take, either if it's been a while since they've taken undergrad statistics, they take remedial courses as or introductory courses before diving into the advanced courses to either bone up or to relearn some of the things that they weren't able to get to before. So I think that's part of it. And I encourage students before they start the program, I tell you, it's like, start watching YouTube videos, start learning R, start, brushing up on your assumptions of regression and statistics. And that way you're not overwhelmed by all this course content and having to learn just the basics of R. We'll teach you R, but it really helps if you have a base even before you come. Good question.
Great, thank you. So we have another audience question here. Are there any courses in communication or public education that teach students how to draw attention to the data analyses that they create?
In education, or can you repeat that first part again?
Sure. Any courses in communication or public education, I think, to help kind of teach students how to basically present and draw better attention to their analyses?
Yeah, I would say that we have a course, PA 433, data management, but based on the different instructors that across the curriculum that I'd mentioned kind of this idea of data storytelling, that that part of this endeavor, it's not just analysis, that you have to be able to sell your results. You have to be able to influence decision makers. Some of our courses, program evaluation, policy analysis, and that data management course all have components that talk about, essentially communication, data storytelling, selling your results, understanding the process by which public decisions are made, because generally the people who have these who are fulfilling the roles that I had mentioned earlier, they're having to sell their results and their methodologies to politicians, to higher level administrative entities and whatnot. So yeah, I believe we have it across the curriculum in a number of different courses.
Great. Another audience question. I think actually there's some interest, and I had a question kind of around this too. Just around ways to get more like involved or connected to what you're doing. So you mentioned there's the Civic Technology Research Lab, there's the Civic Data Society, and then we also had an audience question. Can people audit courses and like can they participate without being enrolled in the program? So could you maybe speak a little bit about how folks who are not students in your program can maybe engage with some of the things you're working on?
Sure, I'd say that auditing is kind of an odd thing, that typically you'd have to be enrolled in the university, and right, you may even have to be fees paying and stuff like that. So that is maybe there are some of those university things that they might not have a workaround. But that being said, I'm very open to meeting with people individually and discussing how, especially if you're a person in a public agency, you're in a nonprofit, that you would like to engage with some of our students or myself and see that we very much have that public service motivation, that we're not, I've worked in private services contracting before. It's like, I'm not worried about billable hours and the compensation is that we're very much willing to do things, volunteer and do other things in our time. Also, we love it when you have opportunities that, if you have needs for us, we have needs for capstone projects that across our programs, our Master of Public Administration, the Civic Analytics MPP, is that we recruit and want people to come out, is that they have a need for data analysis, they have a need for engagement. So I'd say, without trying to guess too much the context that some people are asking this, is like, just please come and engage with me, ask around. I'll do my best to see what we can, how we can assist you and how we can push things forward.
Would you say that email is probably the best way to get in touch with you, or Slack, or what would be easiest?
I am on the Slack. I have the Slack running. So if you are on Slack, I'm happy to answer a question through there. But otherwise, email is certainly a great way to go. And I don't know if I give out my email on here or something like that, but if you want to inquire or send me a private message or something like that, I'm glad to give an email.
Cool, sounds good. And you're just Stephen Kleinschmit on the Slack channel, right? So people can find you that way, right?
Sure, and if you go to that website link, the go.uic.edu/MSCA, it should have a link to my contact information there as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Sure.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I guess a couple other questions from the audience, a couple questions that I think too are a bit related. So I guess first, just about how many students would you say are in the program, and is it growing? And I guess relatedly, like how could we be helpful in promoting it and growing it more?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I would say that we're over 30 students right now. That COVID did take a chunk of our sort of applications, particularly when the travel ban was put in place. We had a fairly substantial number of international students who were not able to attend because of that closure. So we do have a group of students from all over the country. I'd say that of our programs, that we are becoming a destination program that has very much been attractive to people not only within the Chicagoland region, but also outside of it. I'd say that our size is an advantage, that it's big enough that you can get, that we have the resources and we have, you're able to engage in the student life and things like that, but you're also not in a context that's so large that you are just another number, that you're just another thing. I've essentially talked to every student that we've had. I send them, we have our own MSCA Slack channel. I will send them messages just asking how they're doing, how I can help with them. So we tend to be very relational in our department. And I think it's almost kind of like a liberal arts college kind of feel, that you're not going to be in a lecture hall with 200 or 300 other people. You're going to be in a classroom, sometimes with 15, 20, maybe 30 to 35 tops in some of the classes that have like Intro to Public Service, where you have crossover and some of those different programs. Yeah, and I forgot the second aspect of that prompt. That's what I get when I start waxing philosophic. So
yeah, just in terms of, yeah, I guess building off of that and how we can kind of promote the program more.
Sure. I'm really looking to engage with people in strategic positions and organizations that have visibility, with professional networks and professional organizations that need these things, because I know that everybody from city managers associations or associations with finance and budgeting and stuff like that, is that they all have very important kind of be public management, public finance, transit, urban policy, that they all have professional networks and organizations. So it's part of my plan to, particularly this year, to help build our relationships with those organizations. And if you are somebody who is part of a professional network that can benefit from the type of skills that our students have, I would be glad to talk to you about how we can get the word out. So yeah, anything that's new needs time to grow to have a greater degree of recognition. So I appreciate anybody's help at getting access to getting the word out through your professional networks.
Great. And this might be our last question. I think we're just about running out of time, but it's kind of a nice segue into that, kind of thinking more broader outside, sort of thinking about the outputs of your program, right? These students that graduate. You had mentioned earlier in your talk about there's government agencies are showing more interest in folks with degrees in civic analytics. Have you heard, are there particular federal agencies, are there particular states or municipalities that you think are showing greater interest that are of note? Be kind of just curious to see, since you have a pretty interesting and maybe unique perspective on sort of like, where is the movement, right? Where are the interesting sort of growing spaces where there's a lot of interest in this kind of civic analytics?
Sure. I would say that the growth that, anytime you have a new field or subfield that kind of emerges, is that it's typically those kind of, it's larger areas, major metropolitan areas and states, agencies that tend to have the specialized need. They're large enough. They have a degree of, we call organizational specification, where they need a specific data analyst capacity. So yeah, we saw this movement kind of emerge, particularly out of the smart cities movement, and in major kind of global cities that function pretty much like states, or almost as in nations themselves. Like something like New York City is bigger than a lot of countries around the world, and they also have positions like things like an algorithm control officer that have never existed anywhere. So it's those early movers that have helped inform this kind of dispersion or diffusion, of showing people what's possible. And then we've started to see, smaller cities. We've started to see larger counties, and state and federal agencies. The federal government has been on the forefront of this during the Obama administration. They really put with the creation of 18F, U.S. Digital Service, Defense Digital Service, like all these type of things. But even I've had organizations like the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency reach out to me about this, and they're not necessarily around defense. So I know the term intelligence, often people think DoD, or they think things like that, but like tracking, say, refugee flows from war-torn areas, or responses to environmental catastrophes and flooding and things like that, and they might advise the State Department. So yeah, I think you have the big actors, you have the technically complex, large organizations that have a need for these skills, and then it starts to, as degree programs like ours have come online, they have started to now get into the domain of regional and local government. And as more people see this, and they see the capacity, that the demand is growing, and more programs will come online to fulfill this need.
Right on. Well, we are at time. It's a good note to go out on. So thanks again, Stephen. I really appreciate your time. It's exciting to hear. I mean, I feel like you gave yourself like a big a big disclaimer at the beginning. It's been 2 years, but but you've done a lot, right? You really have. It's really impressive. So excited to see what you do in the next 2 years, and see what opportunities there are for members of the Chi-Hack Night and the broader Civic Tech community have with your program. So thanks again for sharing.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. And one last point, I'm also looking to recruit people for our advisory board. So if you are a person who is in this space, and if you're going to that previous question about how you can contribute, is that we want to reach out to people who are in this space, and build the diversity of the people who are represented, so that we make sure that our curriculum is up to date. It's fulfilling the needs that people have, and that it's broadly representative of the people and the needs of society. So please reach out to me.
Right on. Okay, well, we can wrap things up now because I assume the post live stream has probably already started. So thanks again, Stephen. And I think the very last, we'll share a link to that post live stream in the chat as well. But I think without further ado, I think we'll do our catchphrase. If both of y'all want to come off mute, we can all do it together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, go
Go
for
forth
it.
and